Okay, rolling. 5, 4.
Okay, welcome to section 11. We are going to work with stainless steel reflective surfaces. So what makes stainless steel look like stainless steel are two things. It's the separation of values into very light and very dark, and also the reflections. So we're going to start this off the way we start them all off, by deciding where our light source is, and our light side, dark side, medium side. So I'm going to draw a little cube on the side here. I think that what I'm going to do is use my top surface. It's going to be my lightest surface. That's generally what you see in interior spaces because the light is coming from above normally. So that'll be my light side. This will be my medium side. And I'm going to choose this to be my dark side. And of course our cast shadow is going to be attached to the dark side. So I'll just put this over here to remind me in case I forget what I'm doing a little later on. Okay, so I'm going to start by using cool grays. I'm going to make this kitchen all stainless steel. All of the cabinets and countertops are going to be stainless steel. So I'm going to start off by using the flat side of my marker, and I'm going to go ahead and start making some marks like this. Some are going to be vertical, some are going to be a little bit wavy. We don't want them to be too crazy. Let's see. Now I'm going to add in a little bit of a darker gray. Right now I'm using C3 and C5, and I'm using tracing paper, so that's of course going to make it look a little bit darker. I'm going to bring my C5 over here onto the side as well. But all of my surfaces are going to be stainless steel in this drawing, so I can just kind of keep going. Again with the C3. At this point, I think I'm going to bring in some blue. I'm using pale bluish, what do they call this? Pale bluish, I'm sorry, pale grayish blue. I'm just going to bring in a little bit of this. Stainless steel has light blue tint to it, whereas something like copper has reddish warm colors in it. And I want it to look streaky. I'm not going to blend it too much more than what you're seeing right now. Forgot about this part. And whatever you do, try and make it look not too regular. You don't want this to look like stripes. You want it to look like reflections, and reflections aren't perfectly even. I think that's a challenge that sometimes students have. Now let's see which sides are light and which sides are dark. So we know that this side and this side are going to be dark according to my cube. So I'm going to get a darker color. I'm going to grab my C7, bring in some darker colors into my darker sides. I'm sorry, not colors, values. I'm going to blend those a little bit with the next lightest. All right. Let's see, what should we do next? Let's do, pull that in a little bit. I want to add a little bit more blue back to some of this, especially these darker areas maybe. Next thing I want to do is let's do some things that aren't stainless steel that are surrounding in the kitchen. For example, I feel like let's do this back wall. Give it a little little bit of a warm gray. The other wall I'm imagining is going to be all tile, maybe like a nice glass tile. Let's go with turquoisey color. So since that is going to be, all of our countertops are also going to be stainless steel, it's going to reflect what's around them. So I can flip this over. And I'm just going to bring some of my turquoise onto the back of my paper. And that's so that I can draw over it on the front later. And let's go ahead and reflect some of the other things right here. So I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to bring all of this down. Try and follow those same streaks that I made so that it really looks like a reflection. Continuation of what's above it. There we go. All right. Let's deal with this fruit bowl over here. And I'm going to go ahead and color some of these. Put a little bit of value. Let's see. Apples. Okay, some oranges. Something like that. And then the bowl itself, let's go ahead and make it the same color as that back wall. That seems to make sense. And then we can reflect it in the countertop. So now I have a darker version of that turquoise that I can use. Now I'm going to flip it over and draw the underneath of this bowl reflected. Like this. Should be good enough. All right, maybe it's time to do the countertop now. I'm going to use a light gray because we said that the light was coming from the ceiling onto the top surfaces. So just do a little bit of this. I'm just going to go right over what I drew before. I don't have to worry about messing it up because it's on the back of the paper. Hopefully look like stainless steel. Let's see, medium side. So right here, this should be a little bit darker. And this, so. This will also be darker. Now would probably be a good time to put something in the window. Probably something kind of simple. Once again, I like to always do that on the back. I'm going to do some buildings. Something real simple though. It's not the focus of this drawing, is not at all what's going on outside. It's just a little something to set the mood of the space, and it definitely seems like we've got a pretty contemporary kitchen. So some buildings would be interesting. I'm going to make it look like it's twilight outside. The best way to do that would be with some purple and gray. The gray along the top. I'm gonna let it blend into my purple, and it'll look like it's just getting dark outside. I didn't bring it down far enough. I'm doing this on the back so that I can then put some blue over the front, just to kind of represent glass, just so that it definitely looks more like a window than a painting, which is really important. Okay, so I'm going to take a very light blue. Something like that to make sure that it looks more like a window, and I'm going to give it a little bit of depth. There's always going to be a little bit of a shadow on the glass because the glass isn't as thick as the wall. Teeny shadow to once again kind of take what's in the background and push it back. Okay, I think the floor. We could do the floor next. You know what, before I forget, let's add a couple of shadows. First of all, toe kick is recessed, so that's going to be in shadow. We can go ahead and put a pretty dark tone right there. Also, the countertops are overlapping. There's always overlap a couple inches, an inch and a half, so a little bit of a cast shadow there as well, especially this one right here. In fact, I'm going to get a darker one since that's my dark side, switching to a C10. Much darker cast shadow because this has a big overhang because it's being used as an island. There's some chairs there. And I'm going to soften up that edge just a little bit. C7. Okay. I think a reflective floor would be a little bit much in here, so I'm just going to go ahead and do kind of a dark gray right now. I'm going to go through now real quickly, just kind of go over my lines on the floor to give the tiles a little more depth, and then we're going to go back in a little bit and define them even further. Okay, the ceiling needs a little bit of tone to it, not much, just a little. If it's a white ceiling, it's still going to have a little something, and we've talked about lighter closer to you, darker farther away. So I'm just going to put a little C3 up there, and then I'm going to blend it. It's C1, just blend it out so it's darker further away. I seem to have neglected this wall. I need to go in and do a little something there as well. Blue. All right. Also, cast shadow from right here. I'm going to put down gray, and then I'm going to cover it immediately with the turquoise color. I know it's not going to get dark enough with the turquoise, which is why I use gray. And blend that out a little bit. There we go. Okay. All right, now I'm going to add some detail in with a, let's say, C7. My handles almost black. Hopefully this is starting to look a little bit more like stainless steel. I'm working pretty fast right now for the sake of the video. I'd probably take a little bit more time, maybe even use a triangle to try and get those lines perfect. Don't want to be too outliney though. It's not a cartoon. Okay, and then anything I do here, I should also do in the reflection. So I'm going to do the same thing in the reflection right now. So it's real obvious that that's what we're looking at as a reflection. Little shadow there. Let's see. Okay, now we can add some sparkle, which is always a fun part. First thing I want to do is with the floor, I'm just going to use a white pencil, add some grout. And also anywhere that I want to add a little bit of reflection in the floor, I don't want the floor to be too reflective. But I'm going to take some of these vertical lines, just bring them straight down with my white pencil. And that always looks good. It's something that you can do very quickly while the client's riding up in the elevator. And it always adds a lot to your drawing. Something else that we forgot to do was the bar stools. We seem to be doing turquoise. Let's do turquoise. A little bit of dimension, and once again, lighter closer to you, darker farther away. So we're going to let those be darker on the sides, lighter in the center. And then that color is also going to be reflected in the stainless steel right across from it. I'm not doing any kind of, complex calculations to figure it out exactly. I'm just throwing a little bit of turquoise in there for a reflection. It's really not something you need to be too specific about. Okay. We need to add a little bit more detail here. Maybe this cooktop over here. Little something over there. And I think I can add, I think we talked about this being glass tile, so once again, a couple lines with the white pencil. Nothing too specific. And I think now would be a good time to maybe add a little bit of the sparkle I was talking about, and a really good way to do that is to use a whiteout pen. So just go on your corners, little areas. Don't overdo it. I know it's hard not to because it's so much fun, but just adding little areas. Once you get the sparkle that you want, then you're done and you have a beautiful stainless steel kitchen. All right, so the very last thing to do here would be go back in with my Sharpie pen and find some of those lines that we lost during the rendering. And you can see the final drawing will be in the book. I'm just gonna go back in and find these just to finish it off. Find the important lines, like where two different planes come together, ceiling and floor, two walls, etc.